Oops, sorry about that. Okay, cool. All right, we're back. We are working through the remaining 4 spirits before we have our last break. And then the remaining session will be looking at mental well-being. So, Hun. So, when we look at the Hun, we're primarily looking at the fact that it is a wood element spirit. So, liver and gallbladder are the main ones there. And then secondary to that, we have the heart and lungs. Not discounting the fact that other organs could be involved too, but that's kind of what we're looking at. It's considered more of a mild version of a yang spirit, as opposed to the Shen being the more mature, explosive type of spirit. Possibilities for Hun are excess deficiencies, stagnations. Look, I don't have liver qi stagnation there. It would be involved. I'm trying to refine it down to more likely that you'll see. And we'll look at what the Hun is. For some of you know this already, so it'll be a bit of a reminder or a review. And then we look at the excess Hun, deficient Hun, signs and symptoms, and then a treatment. So in a basic sense, the Hun is our ethereal soul, heavenly soul, dream big soul. You might call it creative, artistic, poetic, imaginative soul. It's the soul that is where we get that creative energy from. So the Hun and the Po dynamic have to be considered if the patient has got issues with, say, writer's block or something like that, because you'd look primarily at Hun there first, because they're not accessing that unlimited inspiration, because that's what's up there. It is unlimited. The Hun is also associated with our sleeping and dreaming, emotional balance, decision-making and planning, courage, vision and imagination, eyes and sight. So in some ways, there's some further connection to the Po. There's some connection to the Shen. And one could argue even some involvement with the remaining 2 spirits. And in a lot of ways, there is that continual connection between all of them anyway, through that sort of 5 spirits, 5 elements cycle, be it the Sheng cycle or the Ko cycle. So up here, where the Hun is, anything is possible. Therefore, dream your grandest dreams. So there's no limit, no limitations. You're the only one that puts a limitation on it. Or maybe you think it's someone else's fault. So you blame the world for the limitations, in which case it's still actually your fault. As tough as that can be, but a tough love, because it's unlimited energy up there. It's unlimited potential. It's universal chi that you're accessing, so you can't run out. So there's no such thing as actually running out of dreams unless you make it so. You can be playful, fun, energetic, inspired, all those things the Hun loves. The Hun doesn't have limits or boundaries, just like I was saying. The Hun is also where we plan, process, filter, discriminate, organise, set goals, and prepare for action. So it's still liver and gallbladder involved there, but that's also some of what Po does. It's often done in slightly different ways. If you look at, say, a wood archetype, they still plan, process, filter, discriminate, organise, set goals, prepare for action. They do all those things, but they tend to do it almost on the way to the thing that they've decided they're doing. Whereas a Po is that part of ourselves where we, rather than start to actually almost do it, you sit back and plan it first. So there's planning on the move, and then there's planning on the non-move, for want of a better way of saying it. So the Hun and the Po work together in that concept where Po will process everything to a point where we go, you know what, okay, we're ready to go. But then sometimes you get thrown a curve while you're in the middle of doing something. Maybe something gets thrown at you when expecting. Well, then it's more likely to be the Hun that adjusts to that sudden change. The Hun endows us with the ability to discern our path, stay clear on our direction, imagine possibilities, move forward toward our goals, and take a stand for what we believe is right. Pretty straightforward. In ancient times, the Chinese believed that your Hun left your body when you slept to travel the heavens and the earth. Modern view of the Hun is more that it descends from the eyes to the liver, and then there's that kind of nourishing component of liver blood nourishing the liver, and the liver nourishing the blood, the liver nourishing the Hun nourishing the liver. Blink, 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 eyes awake, Hun's back there again. But yeah, in ancient times, it was more that you slept, the Hun toddled off into the heavens. That meant a part of you was missing, thereby allowing another entity to invade your body while you slept. This entity was essentially maleficent and could be a demon or another sleeping person's Hun. So it could be some demonic being that decides to have a bit of fun with you, or someone else is sleeping and their Hun flies over the top of your sleeping body and they go, this looks interesting. Boom, in we go. In order to protect a sleeping person from invasion, the Chinese used moxibustion, so Artemisia vulgaris, smudging. So that's an interesting look at what they did. What they basically believed was that the moxa, if they smoked it, it would fill the room up with smoke. So the demon or the alternative person's Hun couldn't see through the smoke to find you. And then the smoke was quite obnoxious to the demon or the other person's Hun. So it kind of repelled them in multiple ways. Another thing that I've seen written was that they sprinkled pepper seeds around a sleeping person. The issue with that is pepper may not have actually been around in China, 500 BCE, during a period where this was sort of considered to be something that they did. I'm not entirely sure. I'm just letting you know that's what I've seen written. There's a good book on Chinese medicine history from Hinrichs and Barnes, and they've got a quote here that says, valuable items such as jades, cowries, precious stones, clothing items such as gowns cut certain ways, and caps with hanging strings were also used for protection. The Hun isn't tied to Earth via gravity, it's tied to Earth via our Po. So the Hun's the dream, the Po is our dream becoming an action. So you can't have one without the other if you're alive. So Hun is our dream big, more yang soul, and our Po is more our do big yin soul. Not discounting the fact, of course, I'm so itchy on the face at the moment, sorry, that once you start, you can't stop, can you? So the Hun has a yang and yin soul, but it's more yang as an overriding force. The Po has a yin and yang component, but overriding it all, it's more yin. And they're linked together through that process. Now, if you're Hun excess, you'll still dream big. There's no issues with that. You'll be dreaming all the time. And so what happens is you've taken away from time where you would take that dream and make it action. So you don't do big anymore in the term of doing the dream, making the dream the action. So you come up with heaps of ideas, but you never finish what you start or just threaten to get stuff done. You'll have a glass half full attitude because there's constant stuff that's happening here. You're constantly being stimulated by information. I'm seriously going to have to start itching some anti-itch points. Oh. Heart 7 is an anti-itch point. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. So you itch it. Itch the anti-itch point. Gallbladder 31 is another anti-itch point. What's going on? Oh, itch, gallbladder 31 too. Bai Chong Wo is a point 1 sun above spleen 10. It is also an anti-itch point. Bai Chong Wo, 100 insects rushing. There you go. Didn't think I'd talk about that today. So, Hund excess, glass half full attitude, you're constantly coming up with material, so you're not feeling like you're losing a sense of who you are or coming up with ideas. And what you'll see is the person, if you go to their house, you'll see something partly completed in every room. For example, the garden will be the only one on the street that looks like it's either half finished or half started. And that's what happens. They come up with the design for the garden and they go to the plant shop and they buy the plants and they start the garden, and then they get halfway through and they go, I'm not really enjoying this too much. Oh, I've got a good idea. And away they go and they do the other thing. And the garden doesn't get finished. If they're horn deficient, they will do big, but then they can't dream anymore. The deficiency is affecting their ability to come up with new ideas. So they just work on the things that have always worked in the past. And you won't be big either, because the thing is with Po is that you are action when you need to be action, and you're non-action or wu-wei when you're supposed to be non-action. Otherwise, if you're just Po all the time, it's all action. You wouldn't sleep. You wouldn't stop. And because you're Hun deficient, you've lost your ability to dream, forward plan and create, and so you structure your lives mercilessly. Become too rigid, no longer open for change, because change is now scary, because it's something that you've lost the ability to do. We will feel stuck in our life, in our rigidity, in our systems, but because we don't dream anymore, we don't actually know how to break out. You can imagine if you get stuck like that after having been so dreamy previously, it can lead to significant emotional issues. Now, this will lead to a glass half empty attitude rather than glass half full. In terms of a Hun regulating treatment, this is an option. Again, it is a combination of points that regulates the Hun. So it doesn't matter if you're excess, deficient, stagnant, it can be effective to regulate all aspects. Because the Hun is connected to the Po, and because the Hun is the highest one and the Po is the lowest one, I do have that triangle of power, the Do 20 and Kidney 1, highest and lowest. In case you're feeling like that's there a lot, in this instance, it really does need to be. If you don't want to use Do 20, again, try to think of something else up that way that would still be of benefit. Gallbladder 13 in this instance is going to calm the Shan and the Hun. We've got the front mu collecting point of the liver. Logically, you could use the back shu point of the liver, bladder 18, or if we're doing Hun, so why not do Hun Men, the ethereal soul gate? And that is 1.5 sun further out from bladder 18. We've got some other points in here that you might have considered before, maybe not. Points like Sanjiao 3, for example, regulates qi flow and does calm the Hun. If instead you're feeling like that's a little bit too obscure, and so you think, what am I just going to use that I would normally use? Well, you could use Heart 7, you could use Pericardium 6. The usual candidates are still perfectly effective. Yuan source points would be a good idea here for both liver and gallbladder. So liver 3, gallbladder 40 as well.